major changes with those assets is really the investor protection element, how we look to safeguard the assets that we're holding, and there's a lot more focus in those areas.
Hello, and welcome to the Bankers Masterclass series in association with Deutsche Bank, looking at the important changes in the security services business. I'm Joy Macknight, Deputy Editor at The Banker, and I'm joined in the studio by Mike Clarke, Director, Product Management, Security Services at Deutsche Bank. In the first chapter of this video series, we're exploring how the custody landscape is changing and what clients need to adapt in the new environment. As in other areas of the banking industry, the custody area is changing a lot. Can you explain to me some of the changes that are coming through in this landscape?
Rather than go through details of specific changes and specific regulations, I'd like to really focus on three real key topics and trends that are driving the landscape change. So the first of those is really the assets that we are in custody over themselves, and one of the major changes with those assets is really the investor protection element, how we look to safeguard the assets that we're holding, and there's a lot more focus in those areas, as well as through other regulations how we better mobilise those assets to meet needs. So it's that balance between safeguarding and mobility of assets. On the second side of things, we're seeing a lot of change on a technology front, be that in technology of the infrastructure itself, be that in terms of new technologies that are emerging, but also really around the cybersecurity aspects and the safeguarding of data as much as the safeguarding of the asset that we hold. We have to really be focused on those areas. And then finally, really what we're seeing as a result of many of these changing dynamics is a changing set of models that clients and providers are utilising to look at how the end-to-end process is performed in its own way, and that is really driving maybe a focus on value versus commodity. Where is the value in a particular component? What is a commodity? Where do I get value from doing something myself rather than buying something from a provider? And it's really being about how we smartly put that together to allow the best efficiency in an end-to-end process.
Okay, because componentization is also a big trend that's happening right now. How does breaking down sort of bank services into components really help to, give clients more flexibility and give them more choice?
Components make it easier for you to build different things. If you look at Lego as an example, you have a whole series of bricks, and how you can put those bricks together changes the solution that you can provide. So by breaking our services down into components, what we're able to do is to take those standard building blocks and allow us to build together a solution for a client based on those standard building blocks that can be tailored to their own specific challenges or opportunities that they want to take. Not only that, it allows us to integrate those standard components with the client's own processes or with the processes of another provider. Again, looking at who's going to provide the best value in that area for that client's end-to-end process and efficiency. So if you look at some examples of where we've seen that come to the fore, globally we're seeing account operator models coming into play where safekeeping isn't in the picture. We're seeing collateral programs becoming available and integrated into custody provisions to allow domestic assets to more easily move and fulfill obligations. We're seeing in Europe emerging models such as asset servicing only, where clients may in-source their own settlement process as a result of harmonisation, as well as maybe taking on some cash services that they previously would have relied on a provider because they have access to their own central bank money now across a whole region. And then similarly in Asia, we're seeing a slightly different focus because of the different currencies. It's around FX and how you can integrate an FX component with custody or allow a client to use their own FX component or that of another third party in providing the solution. So the flexibility comes around looking at a client's individual business and saying, how can we operate? Where do we bring value? Where do we see others that bring value? And how do we shape for you something that will deliver you the optimum solution that you need?
Okay, and I know Deutsche Bank has launched a digital custody app. What really does that offer clients, and how does that combine to really create this idea of smarter custody?
The choice that is available now, when you suddenly break things down into components, that you're suddenly there with a vast array of choice. And the custody app that we produced was really a way of trying to allow a client to navigate that slightly more complicated landscape. And so what solution is ready for me? You don't want to sit with a menu of options that's as long as your arm and try and work out a business case for each and every one. So the custody app really takes the client through a discovery of the drivers that are occurring in the landscape, be they regulatory, technology, infrastructure drivers. Allows it to think about where those drivers may impact them and what's important to them. And then through prioritising those drivers, it will come back and recommend that here is a solution that you could look at that would optimise your drivers. So it's a way of being able to narrow down either to an individual solution or to actually facilitate discussion. We've had some great sessions with clients where they've gone through and they've not necessarily agreed on a full set of priorities across different divisions or different departments, and being able to discuss that and see what does that mean if we chose a different priority. Does that change the solution? Because if it doesn't, we can move ahead on that solution. If it does, let's talk about a focused business case around those options and see which one brings the best end-to-end benefit. So it's really around navigating, narrowing down those choices, and that's what being smart is about.
Excellent. Thanks so much for your insights, Mike. In Chapter 2 of this masterclass series in association with Deutsche Bank, we will explore how clients can maximize the cash asset opportunity.